So this is lesson number 8. We're going to talk about applications. Now, if you have an Apple, you're going to be installing applications a lot this year because you need to do it on your own. Occasionally, we can help manage them for you over the network, but you really need to learn how to do this on your own. Now, applications on a Mac are a little different than on Windows. In a lot of ways, they're better, but you do need to understand a few basic things. So first, I want to start here with just a blank desktop. And this is actually the exact same laptop that all of you have. And I'm saying that because I actually have a couple different Macs, and I wanted to make sure that the version of the operating system looks exactly the same for this. First off, I have mentioned before that if you hit Command Spacebar, you can type and search for anything. And if you notice, if I'm looking for QuickTime, it will come up here. Now this is the top hit, but this is the application QuickTime Player. Now it's the same in this case, but sometimes it's not. But if you're looking for an application, for example chess, it will come up here. So this is a fast way to get to your applications. But where do your applications live? Well, let's check that out. This is your Finder controller, or your Finder menu, whatever you want to call it. And Go is where you're going to go places on your computer. I know this sounds very redundant, but people are always like, where's Go? It's like, well, it's at the top. Because Windows doesn't have a Go. It has a Start. So let's go down here to Applications. Okay, here are all the applications I have. In Mac, I can view things differently. This is my thumbnail view, list view. This is a multi-window view, so like I can click on dictionary and it will give me information about it. This is usually used for files. It will tell you how big a file is, how old it is, when it was modified. It's pretty handy for files, but not really for applications. And this is our, I think they call this like image flow or like something like that, because using your mouse pad, you can swipe through your icons. Now, being extremely like geeky and enjoying like typing commands and stuff, I never use this. Cover flow is what it's called, and it's the same on the iPad and the iPod. But it is very cool, and if you like it, great. But all of your applications are in this Applications folder. Now, within the Applications folder, there's another folder which you normally won't use, but it's called Utilities. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is you're not actually going to use it most of the time. There's a few things in here you might use. For example, the podcast publisher, podcast capture. We'll get into that later. The biggest thing you need to know is you cannot delete anything in this folder. Don't come in this folder and say, you know what, I don't know what this console thing is, I'm just going to remove it. You can't do that. Whatever is in here is actually essential, and you need to leave it alone. Okay, so I'm going to go back. Here's my navigation. I'm just going to go back. And you can go forwards. I'm going to go back, and I'm in my Applications folder. So when I want to launch something, I can double-click on it and open it. So let me find something that opens and closes quickly, like dictionary. Okay. Now this is where a lot of people make a mistake. They hit this red X. Okay. Now sometimes that closes the application. If you notice down here in the bottom, the dictionary is gone. But with other applications, there's no window. So what I've done is preview is open, but I can't see it. A lot of times when you hit the red X, or when you just open an application on the Mac, it doesn't make a window, or when you hit the red X, the window just goes away, but the application is still open and it's still running. So if your computer gets slow on an Apple, most of the time it's because you have a bunch of applications open. This is also the biggest problem on the iPad and the iPhone. It's a little different in how you close them, but it's the same problem. You can't easily tell that something is open. The way you do tell is by going down here to your bar. If there is a blue dot, that means the application is running. QuickTime is running, Preview is running. Now, the easiest way to close things that you're not using anymore, if they're like this, is you put your mouse on them and you control click. Or if you have a mouse, you right click and you go to quit. So let's look at that one more time. I'm going to open up preview. Okay, preview is open, but I'm not using it, so I'm going to click off of it. It's still open. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to control click or right click if you have a 2-button mouse and hit quit. Now there's this rumor, and I don't know, maybe it stems from like people using Macs back in the 80s, that you can only use a Mac keyboard on a Mac and you can only use a Mac mouse on a Mac. That is not true. You can go to the store and buy any keyboard you want and any mouse you want, or anything really that is a USB device or a Bluetooth device, and it will work on your Mac. So if you really want to get back to your 2-button mouse because you hate the Mac like keyboard, then you can get a mouse. Now all of you should have a wireless keyboard and mouse in your classroom. If you plug that little USB into the side of your Mac, you can use the wireless mouse and keyboard on your Mac. If you don't have one of these, then send a help desk and we will supply you with one. Okay, so let's move on. Now, sometimes, just like with Windows, you can get a program that doesn't close. So you've tried what I just told you and it just doesn't close. I'm going to open TextEdit. Okay, here's TextEdit. I'm going to hit the X. Notice, hold on just a second. Okay. I can't really get TextEdit to freeze, so alright. So let's say that TextEdit, I'm clicking the X and it just doesn't work. Alright. And then the first thing that I usually do if a program seems to freeze is I actually go through the 3 buttons at the top. First I do the enlarge. Okay, normally if you can get one of these to work, the program will actually unfreeze. But let's just imagine that TextEdit will not unfreeze. And I'm going to hit the yellow button just to minimize it down here. Alright? This is what you do. You, on your keyboard, Command-Alt-Escape. Alright? Now on a Windows keyboard, that is Control-Alt-Delete. It's the same function. I'm going to do this again. On the keyboard, to the left of the space bar, Command-Alt and then Escape, which is in the upper left-hand corner, all at the same time. Alright? And I'm going to come down here to TextEdit, I'm going to hit Force Quit. Boom. And it will close it. Force quit, the difference between quit and force quit is this. If you quit something, there's a moment where the software actually backs everything up and probably makes like a backup copy, so when you open it back up, it remembers the last thing that you were doing. And Apple's very good at that. It knows the last thing that you were doing on almost any application. But sometimes when you force quit, there's no memory. You're basically crashing the program, you're closing it down, and you might lose some data. Alright, so hopefully this won't happen to you too much. But you really do need to know Command-Alt-Escape. Now, I'm saying Alt, but Alt on the Mac, a lot of people say Option. So Command-Option-Escape. If you're reading something online and it says press the Option key, it's talking about the Alt key. Alright. Let's move on to the next topic. The next topic is the Finder. The Finder is actually an application, and on Windows, they actually have a Finder too, but it's called Windows Explorer. Not Internet Explorer, it's called Windows Explorer. On the Mac, you can actually relaunch the Finder and refresh your computer if it freezes. On Windows, this is really difficult to do. I just want to show you what to do in case your Windows seem to freeze. So let's say that you're working and your mouse stops. Or, here's a really common one, let's say that you start to get better at sharing and you go in to share something and you put in an address and then you hit connect and the computer freezes, right? Everything just starts to freeze, you get the little spinning beach ball, nothing's working. Alright. You hit Command-Alt-Escape, okay? And then you go to Finder and you hit Relaunch. Relaunch. And you'll get your desktop control back. That's normally how you unfreeze things on a Mac. And it works, for me, it works most of the time. Alright? Alright, so that's your basics and the applications. Now, let's look at getting and installing an application. Most of you have been doing this. It's pretty straightforward when you download most applications. And I actually wanted to give you a few to try because I knew that if you tried it, you would probably get it. But I do want to cover a few things that you should do when you do download and install applications. Okay, first, this application is called VLC. Everyone is supposed to have it. It's in lesson number 1. I'm going to go here and I'm going to download VLC. Okay, so now we're back. Let's see if our download is finished. I hope it has. I'm going to go and downloads. Most of the time on the Apple, unless you specify differently, everything will go to downloads. I'm going to actually remove this because this actually errored, so I had to re-download it. To remove a file, you grab it and you drag it into the trash, which most of you probably know. And to empty your trash, you can control click or right click on your trash can and hit empty trash. Okay. So when you download things for Mac, most of them come in this format. If it comes as a .zip, a .tar, or a .rar, you uncompress those and then usually pull these out. There's a few other types of installers for Mac, but they're not very common. Alright, so the majority of stuff, I would say 90%, will look like this. DMG is a disk image. Now, these are a little different than what most people are used to, and most people don't even pay attention to what they're doing. So I want to cover a few things with these DMG file sets, really important. First, I'm going to open it, and when I do, it's going to load it over here on the left side, and it's going to make it look like it's a USB, like if you plug a USB in the side or an external hard drive. And that's because this is actually seen as like a virtual hard disk. Now, this can be deceiving because a lot of programs, if you click them, will run. They will run right now. You don't have to do anything else. But they're not actually on your computer. They're in this disk image. And if you have an older machine or you don't have enough space for certain things, you can do that. But with these computers, you should not be doing that. What you need to do is open them, like you can see it's open now. Then follow the installation instructions. 98% of the time, this is how you install something on a Mac. You grab the icon, you drag it to the application shortcut, and you drop it. And that's it. Some programs, when you open them up, they have something that says whatever installer. You click that, and it basically does this copy thing for you. But that's all you're doing. Now, there are 2 other files in here, goodies and readme RTF, whatever. These aren't necessary. Anything that's necessary will be in this. This isn't just an icon, it's actually a programming package. Okay, so I've installed it. I'm going to close the window. Then I'm going to come over here because I'm done with the installation, and I'm going to eject the image file. The reason I'm doing that is it does take up memory and it does take up resources. Now, I've installed it, so I don't really need to keep the installer. It's free software. I can get it whenever I want. I don't want it clogging up my space, so I'm just going to click it here, and I'm going to drag it to the trash. Then I'm going to empty the trash. Okay. Now I'm going to go to Applications, and I'm going to go down, and I'm going to open it up. Whenever you install something for a Mac that is not owned by Apple, it always asks you this. I always hit Open. Alright, and here's the program. Sometimes programs will have a licensing part, and it will ask you some licensing questions, and you have to say yes or no, but for the most part, that's how you install software. Now, how do you remove software? So, I've installed VLC, in this case, but let's say for some reason I want to get rid of it. Well, this is how you get rid of it. You can grab it and put it in the trash. Empty the trash. program's gone. So installing and uninstalling stuff on the Mac is pretty easy. There's not much to it than that. A lot of people get confused and they think there are these other steps. There's really not. There's some software that the installation process is a bit more complex. Most of those packages, though, come with an uninstaller. So in your applications, it will have the application name and then the application name like uninstaller. A few programs like Adobe Creative Suite, those programs not only have to be removed with an uninstaller, but there's an additional step you have to take to make sure they're completely cleaned off your computer. But for most of you, this isn't ever going to be an issue. You're never going to have any problems uninstalling stuff.